So thank you very much. That was kind of a nice setting for what we want to talk about. We're going to move in a little different direction than facilities as a focus. So we're really going to talk about the intelligent connected campus. We tend to use the word intelligent instead of smart because our headquarters is the Center for Intelligent Buildings. So, and we can talk about me a little bit, but I started in education. I was at FIU, FAU. I was an associate dean, built buildings, was always on a new campus. So built facilities from the other side and ran them from the other side. Then I met someone from IBM in Boca who hired me, and I went into IT some time ago, and then into digital and all the other things that we've been doing. Joined Carrier a while ago, 4 years, really talking about the connected building because of my IT and education background, and how are we going to change this world when we have very compartmentalized, departmentalized technologies that are going to be clashing, overriding, duplicating, and not connecting well. So the connected intelligent campus, the most important thing is we spend 90% of our time, you all know that, you've all read the studies, of our time, right, in a building. Whether we like it or not, that's where we are. So the most important thing about our health is the condition of that building, the condition of the air, the environment that we're in. You talked about the occupant experience, the student community, faculty, staff, the research environment. All of those things become really important. And you know, we've been really focused on indoor air quality for a long time. You've probably all heard of Dr. Joe Allen. You guys, in the last pandemic, everyone's heard of him. He's been on every news show on the planet. But we've been sponsoring his research in Harvard School of Public Health for 7 years, as are all of our competitors, not necessarily Joe, but we've all been studying the impact of health, the impact of connectivity, and what that does to the human, who's the most important thing. Because as you build buildings and maintain them, the most important, the most expensive part of that building are the people in it. So the building cost X, then look at the cost of the people, or the cost of not having people and attracting and retaining the best. So we've worked with a lot of campuses and research institute, and this tells you about the fact that air quality, just a very narrow part, improved air quality improves considerably the cognitive functions and results, sometimes doubling results. So these are against these numbers at the top. I'm not going to read them to you. This is all free online underneath CogFX study. But you know, it's above a green building. This is not even ASHRAE, which we all know have very minimal standards at this point compared to what we've been looking at for the last year. So we all know this. You guys know better than I. Campuses are cities. You guys run cities, small cities, multiple cities, you know, cities that are open 24/7 because you have students and they're always running around doing things that you don't want them to do in buildings. But it's really about the demands and attributes of each campus and each building. Each institution is very, very different. So if you can roll the notes down, that would be great. If not, I'll just read them. So one of the things I wanted to talk about with the campuses was when you think about all of the IT that's connected. You've been connected for a long time. You know, we can't come and say, oh, you know, connectivity is new to campuses. It's not. We've had SAP, we've had systems, we've had systems in the building, we've had technology. You know, the internet started, right? October 29th, I think you said 1969. It was Stanford and UCLA, first satellite connectivity. That's the day it started. And we've come a long way since then. But it started in the academic environment. The problem is, as it's grown and multiplied, there's silos and departments, and it's really it's grown up separately. I'm working with a fantastic client who's a university in probably the most intelligent building I've ever worked with. And we're having trouble getting them to have the same kinds of authentication. We're having trouble getting 3 different IT organizations to work together between facilities and the healthcare. So it's becoming a real issue on bringing IT into the discussions at an earlier point of time. And that's where this whole connectivity becomes very important, and the risk of physical and virtual, of cyber, affecting your physical much more than it could in the past. There's all kinds of things that can be hacked. Nicole can talk about it, but we can turn lights off and on, we can turn power systems off and on. You get a good hacker, they can get into anything. So think about that with all of the buildings and research and medicines and drugs. I mean, there's an unlimited plethora of opportunity for hackers in universities. So the 5 main attributes are intelligent, we talked about. So intelligence, great. Does it take more energy to be intelligent? Does it take more power? Does it take more facilities? What about sustainability? Now, you want efficiency though too, right? Because you're struggling with maintenance costs and building costs. And a lot of state universities particularly get funded for new buildings, but they don't get the maintenance to do the old buildings. So we're all meeting those challenges that are financial challenges that are coming right up against the sustainability challenges that are becoming ESG targets for the boards and the trustees and your academic leadership and your executives. So these are becoming very, very important. So how do you balance intelligent, sustainable, healthy? Does it cost more money to have higher filtration? Does it cost more money to do all of the things that we've been doing for the last 20 months? Depending on how you look at it. I mean, I've talked to a lot of university folks that said, if I knew then what I know now, I would not have warehouses full of plexiglass. I would not have stickers that are, in the warehouse wondering what we're going to do with them that say 6 feet apart. So, coming into an environment like we did 20 months ago, I think we've all learned a lot about prioritizing and really looking at the environment much more holistically. Then you talk about safe and secure, and that's where it gets very, very interesting. So you have all of the IT, you have all of the buildings, all of the new things. We have an application, and I'll name, because we have every other vendor's name, Abound, right? So it's an IAQ application, it's IoT. One of our biggest concerns is we have to make it secure. Because if you're going to have an application where students or staff or faculty can look into the building functions, can see what the air quality is, you don't want anyone touching those, right? You don't want them to be able to be hacking them. You don't want people to get into the system through outside IoT devices, and that becomes really important. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Nicole, my colleague, who's our CISO, and we'll carry on with the specifics. Clicker.
Thank you. So I am Nicole Ford. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer, the CISO for Carrier. I'm also responsible for product cyber, so cybersecurity in all of our products. And so this notion of the future of digital campuses is really interesting to me. The reason why is because my career spans 20 plus years. I worked for the Department of Defense, and I've worked for the federal government along with healthcare companies and now with manufacturers. So I've seen cyber before it was ever called cyber. I've been a part of the industry and really kind of understand the space. It's so interesting to see how we've transitioned over time. One story I want to tell you is this summer, I actually went with my daughter, who's a freshman at a university in California. I won't name the university. And she was starting her freshman year, so we actually went to move her in. And as we moved her in, because of COVID, there were a lot of challenges that she faced. And so this notion of moving in, which should be so easy, I did it with my son, a few years before, wasn't easy. And I noticed that her and her suite mates continued to use applications on their mobile device where they had to put personal information in. Now, mind you, this generation, they're considered digital natives, meaning that there wasn't a time when the internet wasn't available. They're very, very savvy. They know how to use mobile devices. They understand applications, and technology is their thing. But what I noticed is that they didn't know how to protect themselves. And neither did the school, which was interesting to me. So it just, led me to believe as I talked to them, like, hey, so what information are you putting in the app? Oh, I'm putting in my name, and oh, it's asking for my social, and oh, I need to put this additional information. And I look at the app and I'm like, wow, I wonder, is this secure? I wonder if the website that she's going to put some additional information is secure. I wonder what protocols they're using. All of that made me really curious, and obviously talking to you guys definitely was a concern for me. And it made me realize that as digitally savvy as these kids are, they don't know how to protect themselves. And so as we start to talk about this digital transformation and how COVID has, really put us in a situation where we lean into technology, which it has, are we ready? That's the question. Are we ready? Are companies helping us or equipping you guys with the technologies to make you ready? And that's something that, was on my mind for like weeks as I thought about, her generation and the fact that they lean into technology so well. Not only that, but I know that there's a challenge around just the student experience, right? I think that that's so important and the need to be connected. And I think at some point, for students, they're going to make decisions based on how digitally connected campuses are and how the technologies, how the universities are leaning into technologies. And I think it's important to talk about that digital transformation and newer technologies really call for cybersecurity as well, right? There is no digital without cyber. They're one and the same. And they have to be treated that way because we're protecting students, we're protecting our campuses, we're protecting, our faculty and administration. What are some of the challenges with converged networks? So as we connect all of our networks, right? We connect the networks that manage our research and development. We connect our networks that manage administration. Maybe we have hospitals as a part of our network, right? Those connections are really important to note, right? Most of them are legacy, right? They've been around for a very, very long time. Buildings typically last for generations upon generations upon generations. The technologies don't change as much as they should. The speed of technology is changing exponentially. Today, it's changing. Tomorrow, we'll see a different set of threats that we have to react to. We see larger attack surfaces because we are connecting more. And as we continue to connect more devices, they're savvy, they're intelligent, they derive outcomes for us, but they also are weaker in some instances if they're not protected, if people aren't paying attention, right? What I can certainly tell you as a CISO, where I see billions of incidents a day, that we have to change. And we have to recognize that there has to be not only an investment in digital, but also in cyber. There also has to be a real investment in cyber. We see unpatched vulnerabilities. We see weak points in defenses. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how do we change that. I think it's really important to know that there are things out there that are happening. The attackers are formidable, right? There is ransomware as a service. It is a way in which people are making money, right? Not just nation states, but also like crime syndicates are out there making money on ransomware. And there, when I look at who's paying the ransoms, a lot of schools are paying ransoms. They've paid from $50,000 to $1 million in ransoms over the last 20 months. And the data is pretty staggering when you look at it. And all of these things are really kind of, because of the need to want to create this user experience, right? And to connect things. And I think it's really important for us to do those things, but we have to do them and be responsible. Our technologies continue to change. They're changing every day. But most of what we've seen is in the industry, we've seen most of the ransomware attacks impact schools first, right? And then we see manufacturing shortly behind. What are some ways that we can secure campuses? Number one, I think it was really important that Don said something that I think is really, really important. And that is really making sure that your IT, your facilities teams, and your cyber teams are collaborating. They need to collaborate. You need to make sure that you have cross-functional skills on each of the teams, right? So that may mean a part of your facilities team, you should have an IT person, right? Who sits and understands the building maintenance systems and how to secure them, and vice versa. I think that there's an opportunity to really cross-collaborate. I don't see as much of it as we should. We still see siloed departments where the facilities managers aren't talking to the IT teams and vice versa, but they should, right? I think there should be a commitment to not just digital transformation, which I think is extremely important and will certainly keep you competitive, but also cyber. Because without that, you're exposing a lot of data and you're exposing your students. If you don't have a CISO, which I'm hoping that most organizations do or campuses do, hire a CISO. Why? Because there has to be somebody who's watching. They need to watch. They need to understand how to detect and respond to events. It's super important that you have somebody who does this full time on your behalf and helps you to understand the risk associated with certain decisions that are made by IT, by the administration, by the facilities teams. A lot of times I sit on CISO advisory boards. You know, I do that because I want to inform the curriculum, because ultimately those people, the students, will come and work for me. So I want to make sure that they have the right skills. So I inform and advise a lot of different colleges. I also think that by leveraging these CISO advisory boards that most schools are creating, leverage their knowledge and expertise as well, right? We see a lot of different attacks. You know, I run a 24/7 security operations center, so I can tell you, I've seen it all. I see what the attackers are doing. I see what motivates them. I know how to detect and to respond very quickly to keep my organization and our customers safe and secure. I also know what type of controls we need to put into our products to keep them safe and secure, so that when we deploy them into your environments, they're safe. So leverage the experience of the CISOs, specifically local CISOs in your area, because they know, they've seen it, and they have the battle scars to really help you and your campus navigate, right, through some of the challenges. And if it's not things like ransomware, it'll be another attack. It'll be another attack, a different type of attack, because that's what these threat actors are doing. They're changing their attack methods and techniques as we learn more about one set of attacks. They change. And that'll continue to happen as the threat landscape continues to change. Involve students. Again, going back to my scenario and story of my daughter and her suite mates, and the fact that they are digitally native, but they didn't understand how to protect themselves, democratize cybersecurity at your school, right? Make it everybody's business. One of the things we say at Carrier is cybersecurity is everyone's business. We spend a great deal of money and resources on security awareness, making sure that the technologies we roll out can be used in the best way possible, in the most safe and secure way. Do that for your students, right? Make sure that it's not just something that's celebrated during October, but it's celebrated all year. And students love learning new things. So if you make it a part of what they do, right, help you to, think about ways you can continue to keep your campus safe and help them to understand their responsibility in doing that, you'll really, really see a difference. And then again, I stated cross-functional collaboration. I do think that there's going to be a time when you're going to see a convergence between the IT teams, the facility teams, and the cyber teams. Again, I think that there will be a convergence because the skill sets need to be as similar as possible as we now connect buildings and we connect, campuses together. And then, finally, engage the community, right? Again, I'm a CISO. I've seen a lot. If you engage me, I come with a whole team of people who could certainly support your university and provide you advice and understanding of what we're seeing, as well as the intelligence. Again, we spend a lot of time trying to understand what the attacker is going to do and how they're going to do it. And we can also definitely bring that to bear as you guys are facing some of the same challenges we are. So I think that there's an opportunity to collaborate. Listen, digital transformation is going to continue, and the proliferation of devices are going to continue. And you guys are going to continue to compete for students as it relates to how students engage. So really making sure that you have a commitment to digital or IT as well as cyber is going to be critical in the days ahead and in the future. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Some excellent pointers there.